Oh my god! Mom! I'm in the conference!
Congratulations.
But what do I do now?
So, as we've already established before, Model United Nations is kind of like a game where you discuss with a lot of people about a problem to solve it. As with all discussions, you need to know first the topic you're discussing. Secondly, the people you're communicating with. And thirdly, your point of view as you will be representing a nation or a character. After you have fully researched about those three things, you will be required to write a position paper, which, as the name implies, summarizes your position, your stance as a nation on the topic that most organizers of Model United Nations will require you to write. However, fret not. The organizers of Model UN will give you two important pieces of documents, the Handbook and the background guide. The Handbook will essentially contain all of the basic logistical information about the conference, like the timeline, and the rules of procedures, which will be a topic for a different video. The background guide, on the other hand, will contain all of the comprehensive background information about the topic you're discussing, and perhaps even the committee, the people you're discussing with as well. So, before we delve into the specifics of the position paper or research, we need to understand the relationship between these two things. Essentially, the position paper is the result, the culmination of your research. So it should make sense to understand what you should research about. So the first thing you need to research about is your committee. When was it created? What functions does it have? Who are the members? And then after that, you can research about your country. As we've mentioned before, there are strengths and weaknesses that influence how you play out in the conference room. So with that in mind, you can then move on to the topics, discussing about its root causes, the context of it, the background of problems, and then you can all discuss with each other on what solutions could be feasible, could be implemented, and applied into the modern context. So, after you have fully researched about those three main things, you can then write your position paper. But first, you should understand that the position paper is a very academic and professional piece of document, and therefore, it requires you to write in a very specific style and format, and cite the sources. But with that in mind, the content of the position paper should include three main things. First of all, obviously, your country's stance on the problem. This part could include things like the previous past policies that you as a nation have implemented to solve or improve upon the situation. Secondly, you should write about past and previous international action. What had perhaps the United Nations done to resolve the issues and improve upon the situation of the world? And lastly, you should write about your own proposing solutions to the problems. This part should include things like new ways to tackle the problems, perhaps promises from other nations to fund the efforts to solve it, or maybe even international framework that you or other organizations and countries have agreed to adapt to solve the situation. So, let's recap what we've gone through today. First of all, we have established that once you are accepted into an MUN conference, the organizer will give you two important documents, the handbook and the background or study guide. Secondly, the first task you are to do before the conference itself is to do research, and you are required to write an academic document called a position paper, as a result, the culmination of your research. Thirdly, you should do research into three main things, your committee, your country, and the topics themselves. Fourth and lastly, only after you have fully researched, you should begin writing your position paper in three main parts, your country's stance on the problem, past international or regional actions, and proposed solution to solve the problems or improve upon the situations. So that should be the end of our video. We will see you in your next video. Bye-bye!